Okay, imagine this for a second. You're maybe just having a quiet afternoon, checking emails,
Yeah.
whatever. Then the phone rings, or an email pops up. Looks official, sounds urgent,
Mm.
says it's a government,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly they're telling you your life savings are in danger, or worse, you're under investigation. That kind of sudden dread, it's chilling.
It really is. And it's not hypothetical, unfortunately. It's a very real, very calculated trap. We've seen it snare so many elderly Americans, just stripping them clean.
Absolutely devastating. So today, we're really going to dig into these pretty sophisticated fraud schemes,
Mhm.
the kind that specifically target the most vulnerable among us.
Yeah, and it's quite a story. We've been looking closely at two young men, specifically Kishan Patel and Moinuddin Mohammed. Both came to the U.S. on student visas. The idea was education,
It's
opportunity.
the American dream. Come on.
Exactly. But the path they actually took, completely different. They ended up orchestrating these huge multi-million-dollar scams, and the damage, financially and emotionally, it's just staggering.
Yeah.
Left a real trail of ruin.
So our mission today really is to get a handle on this whole landscape of deception. We want to unpack the exact tactics they used, understand the shocking financial costs, but also the human costs, the emotional toll.
Right. And how it all fits into this bigger picture, this pattern of international fraud networks that keep popping up.
Yeah, we're not just looking at what happened. We need to understand how they pulled off these really complex cons. Why were they so effective? And, crucially, why it matters for all of us, to understand how these things work.
We'll take you right into it. Specific places like Granite Shoals, Texas. The timeline. The very real impact on people's lives.
Okay, so let's talk about the playbook.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like there was a playbook, even if it had variations.
Oh, definitely. It's a familiar script in many ways, psychologically speaking, but always with these modern twists, digital angles. So picture that typical victim again. Could be anywhere, really. Maybe enjoying a quiet day at home, just like you said.
And then the call comes, or the email. Looks totally legit, like it's from an official U.S. government agency.
Precisely. And this is where the psychological game really kicks in, the core strategy. It's always fear, but targeted fear.
Not just vague worry.
No. They impersonated specific high-authority bodies, the FBI, the U.S. Treasury, even, and this is pretty bold, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas.
Wow. Okay.
And the message was always urgent, always dire, designed to just bypass rational thought, you're under investigation. Or your savings are at risk, act now, that kind of thing.
Creates instant panic.
Exactly. And once they've got you scared, feeling isolated under pressure, then they offer the solution.
Which is where the scam really takes hold.
Right. It's insidious because it sounds almost helpful in that moment of panic. They'd instruct the victim, hand over cash, sometimes gold, other valuables.
God, seriously.
Yeah, gold bars even. Hand it over to a supposed government agent who would conveniently show up to resolve the whole mess. It's an old plot, sure, but devastatingly effective because it plays on trust and authority, combined with that intense fear and urgency.
They create this bubble where the victim feels they have to comply immediately.
That's the goal. No time to think, no time to call anyone else. Just act now or face terrible consequences.
Okay, so let's bring in the first individual we mentioned, Kishan Patel. He was, 20 years old, from Navsari, Gujarat.
Yeah, just 20. His specific scam ran for a relatively short time, actually, July to August 2024. But the damage in that short window, immense.
And his method, his modus operandi, as you said.
Primarily online phishing, those sneaky emails, maybe texts, designed to trick people into giving up information or just straight up sending money. Patel and his associates would pose as these officials using that fear tactic we talked about.
Get them scared, get them compliant.
Exactly.
And the scale of the numbers are just mind-boggling. The intended loss was nearly $2.7 million.
$2,694,156 to be precise. And that wasn't just like targeting one wealthy person. This was spread across at least 25 elderly victims.
25 people. Their life savings, potentially. Decades of work, planning for retirement. Just gone.
It's heartbreaking. And Patel's specific role in this, it was boots on the ground, essentially. He was a courier.
So he wasn't just making calls.
No, he was the one physically collecting the money.
Yeah.
Cash, stuffed in envelopes sometimes, or like we said, gold bars, handed over in person by these terrified seniors.
And then what? Did he just keep it?
He kept a cut, yeah, a percentage for himself, but the rest he funneled it on to co-conspirators. And the belief is many of those are operating out of call centers back in India, orchestrating the whole thing from overseas. A truly global operation.
It's incredible. But he did get caught, and the location is almost surprising.
It really is. August 24th, 2024. The place. Granite, Shoals, Texas. Tiny town, maybe 5,000 people. Local police apprehended him there.
How? What was he doing?
He's trying to pick up a box. He thought it contained $130,000 in cash from a victim's home. Obviously, law enforcement was onto him by then.
Right. Shows these scams reach everywhere, not just big cities.
Absolutely. He was handed over to federal custody about 5 days later, August 29th. Pleaded guilty March 18th, 2025.
And the sentence?
Pretty significant. June 18th, 2025, he got 63 months. That's over 5 years. Federal prison in Austin, Texas. The charge was conspiracy to commit money laundering.
So part of that larger scheme to hide the money.
Exactly. Making it harder to trace, harder for victims to ever see it again. And his co-defendant, Dhruv Rajeshpai Mangukia, another Indian national, he pleaded guilty just a couple of days before Patel's sentencing, June 16th. He's waiting sentence now.
Okay, so that's Patel. But you mentioned another name, Moinuddin Mohammed. His case ran parallel.
Eerily parallel, yes.
Yeah.
Mohammed, he was 34, also acting as a courier. But his operation seems to have been even bigger, more widespread.
Covering more ground.
Definitely. He was traveling all over the U.S., crisscrossing the country, picking up cash and gold from seniors tricked by the same kind of scam, protect your retirement, avoid arrest, you know the drill.
And the total amount in his case?
Nearly $6 million.
Yeah.
Just staggering. His reach was clearly extensive.
6 million. And again, behind that number are real people. We have some specific examples of the losses.
We do, and they're just gut-wrenching. One victim lost $300,000, another $151,500, and one poor soul lost $470,000.
Almost $500,000.
Yeah. Decades of security had just vanished, stolen by these lies.
And his operation, like Patel's, had that international link.
Very much so. The calls often came directly from India, and once Mohammed collected the money or gold here in the U.S., it was laundered internationally, moved across borders.
Which makes it incredibly tough to claw back.
Extremely tough. That's part of the design, adding layers of jurisdiction, complexity. They exploit that.
But Mohammed was caught too, and sentenced.
Yes. February 21st, 2025, U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman in Austin sentenced him to 97 months. That's almost 8 years. So significant time behind bars for him as well.
Okay, so we have these significant sentences. The financial numbers are huge. But let's talk about the impact beyond the dollars, the human cost.
That's really the core of it, isn't it? These weren't just account balances. They were people. Elderly Americans, often on fixed incomes. Their life savings represented security, peace of mind, maybe dreams for their grandkids. All gone. It's theft of a future, really.
And it feels like it goes deeper than just the money. It must shatter their trust.
Absolutely. It's a profound erosion of trust. Think about it. If you're an older person and suddenly you're scared to answer your phone, scared to open an email, that fundamental sense of safety just in your own home, in your community, it gets badly damaged.
It's a crime that ripples outwards, affecting how people interact with the world.
Precisely. It impacts the social fabric. Fear replaces trust.
And you mentioned earlier, this isn't like a one-off problem. These cases, Patel's, Mohammed's, they fit a pattern.
Sadly, yes. A very troubling, widespread pattern. We've seen quite a few similar cases just recently. Hardik Jayantilal Patel, sentenced April 2025. His scam hit 85 victims for $3.2 million. Pranav Patel, sentenced June 2025, laundered $1.7 million.
And wasn't there a massive one a few years back?
You're probably thinking of the 2018 Ahmedabad call center scam. That was enormous. Defrauded thousands of Americans, hundreds of millions of dollars lost. These are just the major ones that get prosecuted.
Right, the known ones.
Yeah.
And there's this recurring detail. The student visa connection. We need to be careful here, right?
Extremely careful. It is alarming that some individuals who arrive on student visas get drawn into these criminal enterprises. But, and this is crucial, the vast majority of international students are absolutely legitimate. They're here to study, contribute, learn.
They enrich our universities, our culture.
Absolutely. These cases are outliers, but they do show a vulnerability. Maybe financial pressure, maybe getting pulled into the wrong crowd. Some student visa holders unfortunately become targets for recruitment by these organized fraud rings. It's an exploitation of the system and of their initial purpose for being here.
So what fuels this whole problem? It sounds like a combination of things.
It really is a sort of perfect storm. You have highly organized criminal networks. You have these sophisticated call centers, often overseas in places like India, where maybe enforcement is trickier.
Plus the internet, offering anonymity.
Exactly. The anonymity of the web, VoIP calls, and then just the raw allure of quick, easy, illicit cash. Put it all together and you create an environment where these scams can unfortunately thrive.
Yeah, the U.S. Attorney, Justin Simmons, had some strong words about it.
He did. He condemned people abusing their visa status, saying they defrauded vulnerable American citizens out of millions of dollars. It really highlights that betrayal of trust on multiple levels. Trust in the visa system, trust in the individuals.
Okay, so this is all quite heavy. What does it mean for us, for you listening? How do we protect ourselves, our parents, our grandparents?
Vigilance is key. But it's a specific kind of vigilance. The DOJ, the FBI, they consistently put out warnings. And the core message is simple, but vital.
Real government agencies will never call you demanding money.
Never. They won't ask for cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or gold bars over the phone or email to avoid arrest or protect your assets. That's the #1 red flag. Cultivating a healthy skepticism, especially towards urgent, fear-based requests invoking authority, that's your best shield, because that's exactly what they prey on.
So practical steps. What can people actually do?
First, education is huge. Talk about this. Talk to your elderly relatives, your neighbors. Make it clear. Government agencies don't operate this way. Any legitimate contact about finances or legal issues will come through official mail, usually, with clear ways to verify independently.
Don't just rely on the caller ID or the email address, because those can be faked.
Absolutely. And vigilance with emails and texts. If it looks suspicious, even a little, don't click any links. Just delete it.
Yeah.
If you do get a call from someone claiming to be official, demand information, badge number, case number.
And then hang up and check it yourself.
Crucially, yes. Hang up. Find the official phone number for that agency on their actual government website. Call that number, not the number the potential scammer gave you or the one on your caller ID. Verify, verify, verify. They want you flustered. Don't let them.
Slow down, take a breath, check it out independently.
Exactly. And awareness. Share this stuff. Post about it. Talk about it. The more people recognize the tactics, the psychological tricks, the harder it is for these fraudsters to find victims. It's about building community resilience.
Well, what about reporting? If you think you've been targeted or someone you know has.
Reporting is absolutely critical. Support organizations like AARP, the National Center on Elder Abuse, they have great resources. But definitely report any suspected scam attempt to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3. The website is www.ic3.gov.
That's www.ic3.gov.
Right. That data helps law enforcement track patterns, build cases, and ultimately catch these people. Even if you didn't fall for it, reporting the attempt helps protect others.
And we touched on the global nature of this. The call centers overseas, often India or Nigeria mentioned, that must make enforcement really challenging.
It does. International cooperation can be complex. Different laws, different priorities. But efforts are ongoing. Extraditions do happen, like Angad Singh Chantok back in 2018 for a similar scam. But it's slow work.
What about the tech companies? Could they do more?
That's a big question. There's definitely a role for tech companies in identifying and blocking suspicious activity proactively, flagging mass phishing emails, identifying spoofed phone numbers before they reach users, moving from just reacting after the crime to actively preventing it. That's a conversation that needs to keep happening.
So we look at Kishan, Patel, Moinuddin, Mohammed. Their stories end in a pretty stark place.
Yeah. They traded student life, opportunity for federal prison, and after they served those long sentences, they faced deportation. It's a powerful reminder, really. Crime doesn't pay. The consequences are severe and life-altering.
Absolutely. It leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Beyond the court cases, the jail time, the millions lost, how do we actually rebuild that trust? The trust these schemes just chip away at relentlessly.
That's the lingering question, isn't it? How do we fortify ourselves, especially our most vulnerable, against this constantly evolving threat? What kind of ongoing vigilance and maybe just empathy and communication does it take from all of us? It's not just a law enforcement problem. It feels like a societal challenge we all need to engage with.